Well, you might be surprised to hear that, we are not necessarily the favourites of the woke lefties. Some of them, aren't crazy about us. But, even though they don't watch our show, but to them I say one thing. Okay, dude. James and Rita are constantly, jumping in, interrupting me. I've got so many important things to say, and yet those two keep interrupting, and I say, okay, dude. Why do I say that? Well, rapper Zuby, it's his hit song, Okay Dude. We're going to play it for you in a second, but first of all, I want to play you Zuby when he became a woman to win a weightlifting competition. Have a look here. We'll ask Zuby about that in a second and what happened, but let's have a quick listen to Zuby's hit, Okay Dude. Can't play it. Okay, no problem. We've got a few
Maybe he can sing it for us.
Glitches there.
Technical glitches.
Someone, Zuby, doesn't want to hear your hit single, but we're going to play it nonetheless shortly. Zuby, welcome to Outsiders. Great to have you here in the studio with us. Tell us about that weightlifting thing, because that was gold. That was back in 2019, before anyone was doing or was aware of all this transgender lunacy. You were right on top of us. Tell us what you did.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, thanks for having me here. It's happy to be here in Sydney. So yeah, this is going back to February 2019. I posted a tweet to my 18,000 Twitter followers at the time saying that I keep hearing about how biological men have no strength advantage over women in 2019. So watch me destroy the British women's deadlift record without trying. P.S. I identified as a woman whilst lifting the weight. Don't be a bigot. So I put that out there thinking that it was quite funny and would get a few retweets and shares. I didn't know that it would be seen by millions upon millions of people around the world and actually be the catalyst that would put me on the radar for so many people who would then go on to discover my music and my podcast and my writing and everything else that I do. So that was an issue that I'd seen. It had been on my radar probably from around 2015 or 2016, so fairly early on. So that's why I chose to do that. And it's interesting that 3.5 years later now, that conversation and quote unquote debate still rages on.
Well, it would have brought you to the attention of a lot of haters as well as a lot of fans. Mm-hmm. You spoke brilliantly at CPAC last weekend. You were one of the stars there. What is extraordinary about you is that as a rapper, you've gone down the route of being positive, encouraging kids, young men to be, rather than that depressing, negative aspect of so much of rap, unfortunately, you've turned it on its head. Explain your philosophy, Zuby.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think we live in a world with a lot of negativity. I mean, through so many channels, both traditional media and social media and just general cultural social messaging, there's so much focus on negative emotion, on fear, on discouragement, on divisiveness, and so on. So being the person that I am and the way that I was raised and my background and my personality type, when I first started doing music, which is way back in 2006 when I was in university, I was like, I just want to be positive. I want to be positive. I want to be honest and authentic, but I want the overall message of everything I do to be positive, to be encouraging, and to be inspirational and to be genuine. So I didn't grow up gangbanging and selling drugs or anything like that. I've had a very positive life. I've got a great family. I've got wonderful parents, thank God. I believe in God, and I want to put that genuine message out there. And I like to act as some type of counterbalance to a lot of the negative messaging that's out there.
But Zuby, one of the things that I think is really interesting about your music is that, there is all that positivity, but I think a lot of it comes with, a warning to your listeners about the state of the culture. And there's a line from your song, Hallelujah, which I thought was fascinating, because we talk a lot about how politics is downstream from culture, but you warn that they always shift the culture before they shift the legislation. So, and that there's a Team Red and Team Blue that are basically like street gangs, and that everybody has to watch out for that. So tell us about the warning to your listeners, especially young people, about being manipulated by politics, by the sort of the dominant media culture, the narrative, as we call it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, something I've said many times is that I don't want to tell people what to think, but I want to tell and encourage people to think. I think that we are living in an age where there's a lot of intellectual laziness And I think that things that are simple are being made overly complicated. For example, the gender debate, something that is binary is being viewed as a spectrum. But then similarly, things that are actually a spectrum are being viewed as a binary. For example, politics, right? Are you on the left or are you on the right? Are you this or are you that, right? It's very black and white, and it removes the nuance and it removes the individuality, right? Every single person is an individual. We're far more complex than just being this direction or that direction, right? People have a whole host of beliefs, experiences, personality types, and so on. So I think we're living in this strange time where, you know, politics is binary and gender is a spectrum, when it should be the other way around.
I love it.
Right?
That's a great
it should be
line,
the other way around. And so, as much
James
as
will nick it, don't worry. It's already in the Daily Telly next week. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so as much as I'm about positivity, I'm also about authenticity. I don't try to hide away from all the negative things that are in the world. I think it's important that we can see it and we can converse and we can have discussions and debates, and it's important.
But someone as famous and brilliant as Kanye West, he was on Tucker Carlson's program, and he said it drove him crazy that he wasn't allowed to say, I back Trump. And he said, I'm this famous person, I'm this influential person, but I was told you can't say it because you've got kids and you live in California and you're just going to be completely disowned. So what's the pressure like in the entertainment world when overwhelming number of artists lean so far left to challenge that and to say, well, no, I'm not going to be part of the echo chamber?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something, and it's not the truth that all artists or entertainers or actors or whatever lean super far left.
But the ones who speak out are.
Yes, and you actually explained why in that, right? It's because there are these social and financial control and pressure mechanisms that make people feel like they, quote unquote, can't speak out. I mean, I know a lot of people in the world of entertainment. I know people who work or have worked in Hollywood. I obviously know a lot of other musicians, DJs, of all rappers, singers, all sorts. They're not all super woke, lefty, progressives, very, very far from it, in fact. But because you only publicly hear from those who are or those who pretend to be, it creates this illusion that the entire
But Zuby, this is why
like
it's so
that.
important that you break that down, that you kind of break that down so that others follow you, others less brave than you will follow behind and go, well, hang on, Zuby's doing it and he's doing well and he's making money and fantastic. And you're not afraid to stand up and call out the woke rubbish and say, no, it's not, and even write in your songs about the woke rubbish and point out what nonsense it is. So you're delivering that, you're not hiding it, you're going, bang, this is what I think, and it works and it sells and kids love it, or not only kids. So what's your message to those other artists? You know, come on, follow me. Or what is it?
My message to everybody is, and I think this is the same core message that Kanye West has in these interviews, which people are missing because they're getting distracted by the T-shirts he's wearing and so on. His core message is, I have a right to think for myself and to express my viewpoints, as do other black people, as does everybody. That is actually the fundamental point that he's making. It's not about necessarily, oh, everyone needs to be a conservative or think like this or think like that. It's like, I have a right to think. I'm a free man. I have a right to say what I believe. And in a country like the USA or across the West, we're supposed to have this thing called freedom of speech, where we can talk, we can discuss, we can disagree, we can agree, we can debate, but you have a right to your ideas and to your own mind.
But the Democrats think they own the black community. Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And when you look at the statistics, it is the one voting bloc that has stuck to the Democrats, something like 90%. Yes, there was a bit of a transfer in the Trump age, but still, overwhelming majority, approaching 90%, are voting one way. And they're being neglected because of that, I think, by the Democrats, because a lot of these Democrat-run cities are not producing good results for the black community.
I've been there.
You've been there.
Yeah, I've been there. You know, obviously, I'm from the UK. I'm not American, but I do spend a lot of time in the USA, and I do think about this stuff a lot. And it's something that I understand to some degree. I don't fully understand where that allegiance came from to begin with. I think it was under LBJ primarily, yes. In terms of the way that it is maintained, I know how it's maintained. And it's maintained through social pressure and gatekeeping and policing, even within that community itself, right? If black conservative comes out there and says, hey, I want to vote Republican, let alone I like Trump or I want to vote for Trump, you know the names that they're going to get called.
Yeah.
And yet,
we've got to break it there. I'm sorry, James. Zuby, I hope we can play a bit of your music. We might not be able to. Yes, let's have a listen. But before we go, just quickly, where can people find you?
Sure.
Because lots of kids will want to hear. I love your music. James and I have been listening. Rita's got it on in the car for the way home. But love it. But where can people find you, Zuby?
I love it. You can find all my music on all the usual platforms, iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify. And if you'd like to support my work or check out my merchandise, go to teamzuby.com. And you can follow me on all social media at Zuby Music, ZUBY Music.
And to coin a phrase, okay, dude.